directed and the Big Kahuna wrote and stars in. So yeah, that's Friday, November 3rd, or Saturday, November 3rd, sorry, at Camana Bay, 7 and 8 p.m. 2 showings, 1 hour each.
Right. I must remember the idea of the arts, but as we're watching it gradually sort of come into its own, but they're talking about Cayman film, so much can harken back to the days of the Visual Arts Society and those, most of the Saturdays I remember, but even now,
It's busy with all sorts of things going on, and of course, I did work in film back before I came to the islands, and have done somehow seem to be overseeing more different sort of mediums of art, which is great. But it's really exciting for me to see the film development here as well, and jump in and understand the filming process and when you're on production and on a crew and actors and that. So I think I'm really proud to be part of this.
Something that I used to enjoy way back then when I would make time to sit and watch the screen. The behind the scenes, how this thing was made, what they would do. And then you watch the evolution of the green screen and the CGI and the like. And, back in the day when the Westerns and the guy was having a fight scene, the fist never came anywhere near the face. Now it's, the next John Woo, maybe in the studio, right?
I mean, it's funny because as filmmakers, that's a part that we kind of always wish we could show everybody is the behind the scenes. Mm-hmm. People just really see that final product, but they don't see the bottom of the iceberg. And that's something that we really wish we could show. Often we can't because you're just busy doing the film, and really recording it. But you're right, and that's the thing about these 3 films. It's not just my film, it's not just Frankie's film, and it's not just Terry Quapé's film. This film belongs to hundreds. These films belong to hundreds of people who took part in many different ways.
And I think, too, as a listener, perhaps with Mary, the idea that as a community, whether you're a film buff or whether you're just a supporter of the arts, or maybe you just want something different, as an evening out Saturday, I can see that Budney and couple decide, why don't we do something different? Or that couple that's been together, 50 years, and they're thinking, why don't we do something different? It's a screening. It's a wonderful evening this year.
Absolutely. And the evening also continues, obviously, with some art and music over at Abacus. So we're going to have a few sneak peeks of some of the Ponciana artists that are going to be in the future. We have some past Ponciana artists and some music. We're going to have some artists actually painting and some things on display of different mediums, and it should be exciting.
Well, I'm hoping now for people who want it, because it's Saturday. Today is Wednesday, tomorrow's
countdown.
It's just around the corner. So
and tickets are selling. We're on the second viewing now, right, Badir?
Yeah, so we sold 292, which is awesome, and we want to get to 400. So there's 200 seats in the cinema. So first cinema sold out. Half of the second one is sold out. I'm pretty sure we'll sell that out before Saturday. And it's a night not just of Cayman cinema, you're right, of art and music. Mm-hmm. And if there is anybody out there looking to do something different, this is it. This is a different night. This is a night of local arts, like, local movies. Like, go out. Each of the films are 15 minutes each, so it's not a big sacrifice, So you'll be in there for an hour and watch 3 films, and then you can go afterwards and get a complimentary drink at Abacus too with your ticket. Can't beat that. Mm-hmm. Mojito. And so we invite everybody to come out, do something different, support the arts.
And people will watch, these awards ceremonies, whether for music or television. They may see the glimpse of the Cannes Film Festival or some other thing. Look at this as something similar, where you go out and you see, the budding enthusiasts. You see those people who, honestly, could tomorrow, be gracing the silver screen across the globe. And to know that you saw them, I remember when. You never can tell, right? I always think back to the days, even whether it's Picasso or even earlier, where people would say, that's my contemporary. Or my grandfather used to hang out. It would be nice. And this is one way to do it. You could say, I remember when.
Making history.
Yep. Making history one clip at a time. Maybe?
Yeah, man. It's a good point. You don't really realize who your contemporaries are, or even what their lives mean or what your lives mean until, time has passed. So you could be making history just by supporting this movement, this local creative arts movement in Cayman.
It's not just about a potential employment or position in the economy, or when we look at some of the films, bits and pieces that are allegedly done here. As a website you can look at, my friends tell me all the time, and Yeah, that was actually in Cayman. Really? Yeah, but we don't talk about that. There's so much that goes on that we should be talking about. This is one of them. Tickets, what the best way to get tickets?
Online, eventpro.ky, or if you want to go somewhere physical, to the Camana Bay Visitor Center.
Okay. And then with that, now as we look at it, so the evening itself, it's 7 p.m. for an hour.
Correct.
3 films, 15 minutes, and an auditorium, air conditioning.
Can't beat that, man.
Now, I know Frankie, as you shared, sort of blazing the trails initially. We see Mr. But I mean, you've been, consistent and very diligent, and through your perseverance, we're seeing a lot. This particular one, Luna's Ring, though, it's has a certain tone to it in particular, and the connections. You want to maybe share a little bit about that?
Yeah, man. So the Big Kahuna wrote this, and when he sent this to me, I loved it. It was a story. I was like, this is my next film. Mm-hmm. I love the story, and it also represented a nice challenge for me too, right, to really be able to pull it off. Mm-hmm. It's a beautiful story. It's about an American writer searching for his lover in Cuba. Mm-hmm. And he's got to overcome some inner demons and some revolutionary forces to find her, right? And it's what's so cool about it is everybody knows the Big Kahuna. Everybody knows he's a comedian, but this is not a comedy. This is a drama. Yeah. Big Kahuna writes drama too. And I didn't know that until I read this story. I was like, yo, this is legit. This is real. It's real.
And I think, in Cuba, I think a lot of people can sort of reflect on it, and it may resonate with them. I mean, looking for love, right?
You went there.
Hey, come on. I just had to paint the picture in case people were a bit slow. It's Wednesday. I don't know where they were last night. They might be really for it now.
Could be a song in there. I went to Cuba.
I know the song well. Well, we had some students in for John Gray yesterday, and a song when Joel Wilson, it was the first time I heard it. And I didn't know. So I got into the car, and it must have just started. And I won't try to sing it, Havana, huh? And it's just that beat. And I had to call Joel. I say, okay, you keep saying that you were young, but I know your birth date. So, tell me the truth. How do you know about this? But he stays happening in that song, as he does his Latin vibes, and that song has a thing. And it's because of what it is. I don't know what it all says. I mean, Spanish I'm okay with. English I'm not quite sure what it's saying. But it's the beat, right? And then it comes back to where we are with our music and stuff. So Luna's Ring has a particular appeal, I think. It's going to be a favorite,
Yeah, man. It's a Cuban appeal, There's just something about Cuba, right? I mean, it just has a history.
Well, some look at it from the political early days of, when Batista was there and even before. Now some looking at today with the sort of the transition as to what the economy and the country will look like.
Yeah.
And there's no question that the culture is there.
Yeah.
So we get a glimpse of that as well.
Yeah, man. This is real Cuba. This is grit. It's nice. Yeah, man.
What was the filming process like? You get the story. You look at it. You make your, sort of adaptations and for the screen versus for print. But then the actual film, as Ms. Mary was sharing earlier, so much goes on.
Yeah, I mean, it was a 2.5 year process from the time he sent me the story to where we are now. So so much happens. I mean, one of the major things filming in Cuba was logistical problems, cash flow problems. Mm-hmm. You have money and you need to pay people, but you can't get the money to Cuba. None of the banks. No banks in Cayman can't send money there. Yeah. So we out there putting money on planes, putting it in people's pockets, U.S. money. And then what are you going to do with U.S. money when you get Cuba? You got to change it to Cuban currency. It's this huge process of just trying to pay the bills. Yeah. And if you don't pay the bills, the production will stop. And that's just one aspect. I mean, the whole speaking a different language and different culture and permits over there in Cuba. You can't just go film Cuba. We flying drones up there. You need permission, military permission. I mean, it's a long process.
Yeah. Are you a spy? Were we checking out? Were you part of that sonic boom? No. But those are the things that people who are familiar, even if it's in Cayman, there's still a process. Mm-hmm. But in a country like that now with their, their particular processes, it makes it even more appealing.
Yeah. And I give credit to Cuba because, to be honest, the story itself may not shed the best of light on Cuba, but that was not the point. It was a story at the end of the day. But Cuba totally were just cool. Yeah, man. They understood it as a piece of art, and everybody I spoke to said, "You gonna have no problem. You can film that. Don't worry. They're gonna say yes." And sure enough, they said yes. So that was interesting. I thought they'd be very hard lined, but they recognize art. over there. Very much so. Respected.
Very respect. Yeah. It is. And this is what I'm hoping that as people come, especially to the film festival, that they appreciate it. They see the drive, the determination, but also see the value of it, to our people. But there, I know you've been extremely busy, and the invitation is always there, publicly or private. Come and share.
Thank you, sir.
We can champion that. Who knows where this will take us, and it means so much to our people in our country. You're not only an expert in Oficial, Miss Mary, but you just have that passion as well. You're
it
sort
is
of
a passion.
Yeah, your part in thoughts to our audience in relation to Saturday.
I just think it's an amazing night to come out and support the arts and appreciate what we do outside of our regular. I mean, it's not just about making a living in the arts; it's about the passion of the arts and supporting the arts and all the hard work that goes into it. It should be a great evening. So, hurry up and get your tickets. They're going fast.
They're going fast, and that's like a much going, gone.
Yeah, man, almost there.
Yeah, but thanks very much. Any parting words you want to leave with us?
Yeah, just we'd love to have you guys there. At the end of the day, buy your tickets, eventpro.ky, or go to the Camana Bay Visitor Center. You will enjoy it. You will miss out if you're not there because you're going to hear people talk about it. And yeah, so, don't waste the opportunity. See you there on Saturday. All
right, this Saturday. Awesome productions, but the Point Center Film Festival. So thanks very much, and I hope as we go into Christmas, maybe we get a chance to bring you in and live and love and laugh a little. How about that?
Let's do that. I'm always down.
There you go. All right, we're going to pause and take a break. When we return, Councillor Austin Harris will be our guest. Please stay tuned for Talk Today.
The jaw-dropping Black Friday early sales event is on at Le Classique. Entire store is half off. That's right, you heard it, half off store-wide. Every shoe, every bag, every item is 50% off at Le Classique. Plus clearance shoes marked as low as $10 and $20. This Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, the jaw-dropping Black Friday early sales event is on. 50% off store-wide at Le Classique, 27 Mary Street, Trilogy, from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Don't miss this one, Cayman.
South Coast Bar and Grill up in Breakers, man, that is the place. For traditional Cayman cuisine, oh, you will love the taste. At South Coast Bar and Grill, we got conch and lobster and turtle stew. And every Sunday, come out with your family for the barbecue.
South Coast Bar and Grill by the seaside, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. daily, lunch and dinner. Call us at 947-2517.
For Cayman and cuisine, the talk today is South Coast Bar and Grill.
Congratulations, it's a boy.
During the greatest events of your life, whether or not you have the right health insurance coverage should be the last thing on your mind. That's why at Fidelity Health, we are committed to helping you get matched with the right plan to suit you and your family. We offer a range of plans to suit your budget, plus access to a network of quality care throughout the Caribbean and the USA. You can relax and enjoy life's greatest moments when you are covered with Fidelity Health. Call us today at 949-7822 for a free quote.
Honey, our fridge has stopped working again. Everything in the freezer is melting. We need to get this repaired right away. I'm calling Brand Source Service.
When you need the very best appliance service, call Brand Source Service at 623-5000. Offering service and installation of all brands and models of appliances. Brand Source Service is Cayman's source for appliance parts and repairs with qualified and experienced technicians and the island's largest stock of appliance parts. Brand Source Service will have your repair completed in a flash. So, whatever the problem is, call the experts at 623-5000. Brand Source Service, Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park. Telephone 623-5000.
Country and Western delivers.
I like it, I love it, I want some more of it.
Now you can have your old-time Caymanian favorite dishes every day, all day, without leaving the office. Enjoy mouth-watering meals including turtle stew, roast beef, oxtail, or salt beef and beans, just to name a few. You can also call in and pick up your dinner on the way home. No mess, no fuss, just the best Caymanian cuisine at a price you can afford. Country and Western is located on Crew Road, just past the Lion Center. Minimum order required for delivery. Call them at 945-4079 to place your order now. Country and Western, 945-4079.
From happy beginnings to happy ever after.
Brit K protects your lifestyle with the best insurance cover at the best possible price.
Health insurance with far-reaching benefits.
95% of claims settled in 5 days.
Low-cost life insurance.
And investments.
Security in retirement.
With a custodian pension plan.
For happy beginnings and a happy ever after.
Visit britk.ky or call 949-8699.
Brit K, where people come first.
You remember the sale at Vant Motors?
Yeah, the Your Sale, Your Choice, the one where you can get cash back or can put the savings to extend the warranty or upgrade features?
Yes, it's still going on, but now you can get $8,000 off a new Ford Ranger truck. $8,000, you know?
You for real?
Come see for yourself. While they still have so much to choose from, save big during Your Sale, Your Choice at Vant Motors. With almost every vehicle on sale, you decide whether to get your dream ride at its lowest price. Take cash back, add years to the warranty or service plan. Choose an add-on or mix your options. Your sale, your choice, because you know what you need, and Vant Motors will help you drive it home. Vant Motors on Walkers Road.
Hi, I'm remodeling our bathroom. I have a few questions.
Sure.
What are some ideas to make my bathroom feel larger? How do I know if I'm picking the right vanity? How do I choose a new toilet or a new countertop? Also, the lighting is terrible. Can I put a window or a skylight? And do I really need an exhaust fan?
You've come to the right place. At Brand Source, we custom design kitchen and baths, and our talented design team can help answer your questions. Whether you're looking for a modern, functional family bathroom or a luxurious personal retreat, we'll help create that beautiful space that makes your home yours. And if you're in a rush for a new look and have a limited budget, our ready-to-install bathroom vanities, built with solid wood and countertops of the finest materials, are a quick and easy remodeling solution.
For the very best in custom-designed kitchens and baths, visit Brand Source Home Gallery on Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park, Cayman's new kitchen and bath center.
Talk to Dick. But I do have some questions. Talk to Dick.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk to Dick.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. My apologies to those of you who have decided to go online to YouTube and, listen and watch us live. Because, unfortunately, these are the faces you're going to have to see.
Not nearly as pleasant and popular as your last guest, I'm sure.
No, not
Good afternoon to you too. Yeah, no kidding. Well, I hope you have a great evening. We'll be leaving you now.
Yeah. In the studio, that very familiar, famous voice, of MLA Councillor Mr. Austin Harris. I have, despite my jovialness, I have immense respect for the position and for our parliamentarians. I enjoy especially being able to chat with you almost as a contemporary, so, much younger, more handsome, but nonetheless.
Always be cautious of Greeks bearing gifts. When Sterling Dwayne, gives you a nice compliment like that, he's winding up for something.
No, man.
Good afternoon to you, Sterling. And all jokes aside, I too do enjoy visiting your program. Certainly, you're one of the few members in the media that I'm still friends with. Because apparently, as soon as I crossed that aisle, I all of a sudden became, I guess, a target of opportunity. But certainly, you have never changed, and I certainly do appreciate that. Certainly, do appreciate also the role that I now play, and that I am on the opposite side of the microphone, and. Well, that comes with certain criteria as well, and I accept that fully. I want to say good afternoon before we get too far into the conversation to my constituents in the constituency of Prospect, whom I have the pleasure of representing, as well as a very pleasant good afternoon to the wider Cayman Islands. Again, it is a pleasure to be with you this afternoon together with my colleague, Mr. Michael Ebanks.
And I was just thinking earlier about, Mr. Ebanks, as acting chief officer, I probably should be a little bit more, professional and respectful. So I won't take it into
that impossible?
No. It is for civil servants.
You'd have to clear his throat, for goodness sakes.
For anyone who's familiar with the Ministry of Human Resources and Immigration, they would know we like to have a good time. So
yes. Thank you, sir.
Fun is at the top of our list.
Quite right.
Yes.
Quite right.
Thank you very much for sharing. And this is the thing, and I hope I don't get too many people in trouble, but on weekends, there's so many people here at work that people don't see it. You know, family and friends who will drop in you, picking up, go, all these cars, some are gone away. You know, these are guys at work. It's not a budget session. It's just a regular day. It's not month end. It's not quarter end. It's just a regular day. And, you know, that diligence, that perseverance, but it's also because of the camaraderie and the laughter and the thing. And so, thank you for highlighting that within that particular ministry. You guys work hard, but you also laugh loudly. Thanks very much.
Absolutely.
So welcome, Mr. Ebanks, for joining us. And again, I'll try, only because Mr. Manderson might decide, you know, hey, you got a new governor, you got to kind of behave, you know.
I think somewhere in world-class civil service is fun, though. So, yeah, we can always have more fun.
SBS North Side has to be.
You know, certainly you mentioned Deputy Governor Franz Manderson. I just want to, again, publicly congratulate and thank him for the important role that he played as acting governor for, I think it was a 5-month period. I thought he did a stellar job. Certainly, it was a pleasure working with him. But I also noted his commentary at the swearing in as well as at the reception for the new governor, His Excellency Mr. Martin Roper, calling it a sparkling day. He was delighted to return to his normal day job of being deputy governor. So, needless to say, Mr. Manderson is walking on sunshine through the halls. But all kidding aside, certainly he has. I think he's done us all very proud when he acted as acting governor. And I just wanted to thank him for his for you know the role that he played during those 5 months.
Indeed, and again, it just speaks to what we're trying to attain within the civil service as we empower, but also, you know, bring people to the table to appreciate that much still lies ahead.
Correct.
So, gents, I respect your time, and as much as I like to laugh and smile and give thanks for another beautiful, glorious day here in this blessed land, we have much work to do, sir.
Yes.
So as we look at it, we're going to talk specifically about what the immigration transition bill.
Yes.
Yeah, because I was looking on transition, I go, and the new government transition, but that's a different discussion. That's tomorrow's show.
I don't know why you would want the government to transition. We're an excellent government. We're working well. The economy is booming, and we're hitting all of our targets. Why would you want to change a good thing, Sterling?
See, that's something, you know. Leave well enough alone, right?
You spend too much time with other members, I think, in the studio, and you need to expand your circle a little bit more.
I think the evenings have been preoccupied with, you know, too much. No, but we're making some interesting strides, and we're watching, I guess, internationally, the movement with respect to border security and moving millions of people,
yes,
you know, legally through the nations and the borders. And despite whatever political hiccups come, we're seeing that we're still, you know, understanding best practice, implementing it, and giving our people that sense. So, Mr. Harris, as you take us through with this new draft legislation.
No, absolutely. Well, certainly, you know, you started, I think, with a positive note that, you know, this is about moving millions of people, you know, to and from the Cayman Islands, certainly on the border control side, and on the work side, dealing with internal matters related to labor. I said earlier this morning that as a country, our economy really is looking great as we, you know, head into the third quarter, going into the fourth quarter of 2018. You know, our GDP is at 4% annualized. This time last year, we forecast it to be at 3%, but we're doing 1% better, which I think is very positive news. Tourism arrivals are up by 20%. I think a lot of this is attributed, particularly on the stayover side, to the opening of the Kimpton and the additional room stock that is now available. You know, we talk all the time about expanding a runway and getting bigger aircraft, but the bottom line is if we have no place for these passengers to sleep, then it is all for naught. So it's important to have this kind of infrastructure development on the private sector side, and we see now the benefits as to how it benefits the country in terms of the numbers and the economy. So tourism is up 20%. On the financial services side, new company registrations up 41%. New partnerships rising to 29%. And the Cayman Islands Stock Exchange boasting its highest levels of growth since 2009 at 31%. So all of this to say that the economy is in a very good position, a very robust position. From a government aspect, you see the government making commitments to engage in key infrastructure developments, which will also take us into the next 10, 20 years. But in the meantime, as they develop, they will create employment opportunities for a wide scale of Caymanians. And this is where we believe Workforce Opportunities Residency Cayman, is coming at a very timely time. The next session of the Legislative Assembly will commence on the 14th of November. The government will be bringing 5 major pieces of legislation, 3 bills and 2 amendments. One of those bills, as you quite rightly pointed out, is the Immigration Transition Bill 2018. Over the course of the last year and a half, we have been making minor changes, adjustments to the role of the Chief Immigration Officer and the role of immigration in general, as we have been rolling out slowly but surely the department that will replace it. WORK, as its acronym, or Workforce Opportunities Residency Cayman. The Immigration Transition Bill will therefore, once approved in the Legislative Assembly, provide the necessary statutory framework that will, in the first instance, repeal the Immigration Law 2015 revision and the Customs Law 2017 revision and replace it with the new Immigration Bill and the Customs and Border Control Bill. The intent of the Immigration Transition Bill is twofold. First and foremost, it is to complete the transfer of powers and authorities from the Chief Immigration Officer to the Director of Work, that is, of course, Ms. Sharon Rolston and her team, as it relates to work permit, residency, and Caymanian status, that is, the right to be Caymanian. And it will also seek to streamline the permanent residence regime by removing the restriction in the legislation that currently prevents a person who has resided in the islands for longer than 9 years for applying for permanent residence. But if I could take it a step further, the technology that will be incorporated as part of work will, and I said it before, I'll say it again, but I mean it, it will revolutionize the way in which we process and approve work permits, PR, and Cayman status, both from an efficiency standpoint, both from a transparency and accountability standpoint. And I think Caymanians in particular will benefit from the detailed data that will be collected as part of the use of technology that will help us properly plan Cayman's labour landscape going forward, both in the short term as well as the medium and long term. So we're excited about the opportunities that are coming online. I will say to members of the public, those particular who would otherwise follow the activities of the Legislative Assembly, we have met the 21-day consultation period that is set out in the Constitution, and all of the bills that will be debated and hopefully thereafter approved in the Legislative Assembly on the 14th of November are available in the public domain. Persons can find them online at www.gazettes.gov.ky, and they may also, whilst I haven't confirmed this, but they should also be available on the Legislative Assembly website at legislativerassembly.ky.
Yes, we do have a call online.
Yes.
As we speak to MLA Councillor Mr. Austin Harris and Acting Chief Officer Mr. Michael Ebanks. Good afternoon and welcome. You're on Talk Today.
Yeah, good afternoon, Dwayne.
Hey, good afternoon. How are you?
I'm all right, and good afternoon to your guest.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
You see, first I want to say hello to my good friend, Mr. Austin. Been long time since he elected. I never see him and never say hello. So, but I hope he allow me to disagree with him about some of the issues he said today. Number one, I see he's saying that the economy is growing and the country is going in the right direction and things going perfect. But unfortunately, it seems, since Mr. Austin become MLA, never drive in those streets, different places, and see the suffering of the people of this country. And see how the same problem we have 8 years ago or more, we still have. Number one, we still have the problem of the dump never solved. We don't see no solution happen, and we see just talks and promises and, consulting and reports and paper, and there is nothing in the ground being changed. Number two, the prices of food has gone up so high, and in this country, unfortunately, everything is going up, and the poor people, the salary is same. The suffering of the people of this country is becoming, even though there is what we call it super plus in the budget, but that super plus, we don't see no effect, positive effect in the life of the people of this country. And we also see that the government is abusing the public fund by using that to advertise and in partnership with private sector to support building the port. And they are standing against the wishes and the will of the people of this country to do a referendum. I don't want people here to think I am of one of the people who support the other side against the government. I don't support those because their attention to keep doing the tendering, and it's not their attention really the what is good for the people of this country. It's both sides fighting over the port. Is rich families on this side want to build the beer so they can their shops make more money and the business people make more money. But on the other side, the tendering, they're trying to launch a campaign to stop this project so they can keep making money. It is not fight over or for the benefit of the Caymanian people. So I am not in support of any of those two entities. I am in support of one thing in the whole matter, which is a referendum, show the real truth, which is of the people of this country. What is the real wishes? That is democracy and that's freedom. The other thing is, Mr. Harris, I know you are a new MLA and you a councillor who I think in charge of different sections in your ministry. And I see you speaking about labor and employment. But unfortunately, the number of people who are unemployed is raising up, and that's a fact. We see that in the street every day that people are looking for jobs. Caymanians can't. The government is very strange how in the world you can employ 25,000 foreigners in this country, and you can't solve 25,000 people to find a job, and in an easy way by giving them a work permit. But somebody who is Caymanian or somebody have a residency can't find a job in this country because the government can't find a solution for 2,000 people who is unemployed or more. And I think the number is more. Right. The last thing I want to say here, Mr. Austin, if you drive your car some time at night in front of Foster Airport, and you see those number of homeless sleeping in the benches of Foster Airport, front of the Foster Airport, and in Georgetown, all over Georgetown and Prospect and everywhere, and the increase of numbers, I think my asking you as a person, I know you are a father, you care, I asking you to speak to the Premier to solve those homeless problem. If they are 100 or 200 or 50, the department in charge of social services not doing their job. It is obvious and clear in this country that this department is not doing their job. Those people are human beings. I asked one of them, how long you're homeless? 5 years. I told him, you go to social services. He go many times, and they're not helping him. And the person is not in drugs. I'm very sure of that, because I know the person from years.
Thanks much. I think, the points the caller make, and certainly everyone's appeal that we should be looking after them. Thank you, sir, for sharing. Mr. Harris, sir?
First of all, I thank the caller for sharing his remarks. Again, it's nice to see that Amjad has not changed any of his spots. He still is the same antagonist that he has always been, regardless of what government is in office. And again, we all have our roles, and that's his. I want to fundamentally and wholeheartedly disagree with everything that he said, which he, again, suggested were facts. In fact, they're not. I don't know where to begin, but let me start. He talks about that I should take a drive in the community and see those impoverished and those most vulnerable. Well, I am also counselor for Community Affairs, which is responsible for the Needs Assessment Unit, the Department of Children and Family Services, and Counseling Services. I see and I speak with and I deal with issues relative to those persons in our community who are vulnerable, who are in need of welfare assistance. I work very closely with the Ministry of Community Affairs and their hardworking and diligent staff, including their Chief Officer, Mrs. Teresa Echeniki, Ms. Tamara Hurlston, Mr. Matthew Hilton from NAU. I know what NAU provides, and I can tell you as a matter of fact that there are a great many people in this country who are receiving regular assistance from our social welfare divisions, whether it be poor relief, whether it be food vouchers, whether it be rental assistance, whether it be Synaco coverage, you name it. The Community Services, Community Affairs Ministry, and the Needs Assessment Unit provides for these things. Do we help everyone? No. Can we help everyone? No. In 2007, 2008, when we had the financial meltdown which impacted the Cayman Islands, which saw for the first time unemployment amongst Caymanians, a number of firsts happened in this country. But amongst those firsts was the need for social welfare to increase to a level of spending that we've never actually experienced in this country. Social welfare is important. The need for housing is important, and the government is cognizant of those needs, and we are cognizant that those needs are increasing. So I see it and I feel it every single day. I can assure that caller of it. But the government has taken a strategic approach to this issue, and particularly my Ministry of Human Resources, Immigration and Community Affairs. We believe the key to solving the welfare situation hangs in the balance of jobs. Jobs for our people. Some of our people are low-skilled or unskilled, so we have to focus on ways in which to upskill them so that they can, in fact, find employment that will take them out of poverty, which is why for the last year and a half, we have worked specifically on the labor aspect of the economic coin, if you will, that is developing work, fixing any shortcomings that were the National Workforce Development Agency, the agency charged with, of course, registering unemployed Caymanians, providing them with the necessary skill set training, and then matching them with jobs in which they can do. They have had some successes, not as much as we would have liked, but that's okay. We shouldn't be afraid of failing in government, because failing helps us to identify the gaps and the shortcomings and ways to improve on that. So we've done that. The caller talked about the government denying the people's wishes in terms of the referendum. Again, I state unequivocally, there is no such thing. The government is supporting the Constitution, which allows for a people-initiated referendum, but there is a requirement. Those persons who would otherwise seek to petition the government on a major government infrastructure project, which not just this government supports, but I dare say governments of the last 12 years have supported. This conversation has been back and forth, but certainly that caller and anybody else cannot say that the government of the last decade has been heading us in a direction towards cruise berthing facilities. As far as the Constitution and the referendum is concerned, the government is not standing in anyone's way. We are allowing the Constitution to play its course. Those who are against the port are certainly running the petition, trying to achieve 25% of the registered voters that would otherwise initiate a people's initiated referendum. When they reach those numbers and they present a petition with 5,125 signatures, or whatever 25% is now with the up-to-date numbers, then the government will uphold the Constitution. So it is incorrect, wrong, and false, and ignorant, if I might add, to be stating that the government is denying the rights of people. The caller talked about, the absence of a solid waste management facility. I can say, because I'm on the inside, negotiations with the DART-led consortium to create a solid waste management infrastructure are continuing. It is hoped that the contract will be finalized and the environmental impact assessment complete by the end of March next year. Shortly thereafter, planning approval is expected for the building of these waste management facilities that are core to the project. But the government is following the process. The government is following the stated laws. The government is following procurement. The government is following good practice. So, regrettably, things don't happen as quickly as perhaps even we would like in government, but certainly critics like Amjad, they'll never happen fast enough. As it relates to unemployment and the situation where we are versus where we've come from, again, the caller is categorically wrong. And he's allowed to make his comments and express himself as if he's speaking from a position of fact, but he is wrong. Caymanian unemployment now stands at 5.3%, down from 6.2% in 2017. Over the last two government administrations, including this one, Caymanian unemployment has effectively halved itself from a peak of 10.5% in 2012. Now, what that means between 2012 and 2018, some 3,350 Caymanians who did not have work now have work today. We believe we will continue this positive track with the work that we are doing with work, residency opportunities and workforce opportunities and residency Cayman, by being able to do a number of things to streamline the process of work permits. Who gets a work permit? Validating whether a work permit is necessary, validating whether there are Caymanians that applied for these work permits, validating whether there are Caymanians within our society that can do these jobs. All of these things we have been unsuccessful at confirming the evidence provided by private sector, which we've taken into account. Right. Over the last year and a half, work has met with stakeholders, whether they be employees, persons who are unemployed, with private sector companies who are the ones who provide the job, Chamber of Council, to make sure that we are addressing each and every gap on the road towards a successful outcome. So I completely and wholeheartedly disagree with that last caller, because his statements, as usual, are wrong.
Right. Mr. Harris, with that, when we come back, good way to continue talking about the work and the immigration transition and some of those things that you referenced, we highlight them. Please stay tuned for Talk Today.
Radio Cayman. Headline. Radio Cayman's newsroom. Headline. These are the biggest stories right now.
A man is in critical condition after a late-night altercation. Just before 9:45 p.m. last night, police and other emergency services were dispatched by the 911 Communications Center to a report of a fight that took place on Shedden Road near Martin Drive in Georgetown. It is believed that the incident took place among several men, one of whom is believed to have had a machete. One man involved received a laceration to the head during the altercation and fled the location. He was struck by a car on Shedden Road. The victim is in critical condition. In news elsewhere, U.S. President Donald Trump kicks off an 8-state campaign blitz on Wednesday, seeking to shore up Senate Republicans and GOP gubernatorial candidates against an onslaught of Democratic surrogates, including entertainment icon Oprah Winfrey. Trump will crisscross the nation, landing him in Senate battlefields such as Indiana, Missouri, and Florida, along with nail-biter contests for governor in Georgia and Ohio. Winfrey, who offered crucial support to President Barack Obama during his 2008 rise, will campaign Thursday for Georgia Democratic gubernatorial candidate Stacey Abrams, who is attempting to become the nation's first black female governor. All the guns used in Saturday's massacre at a Pittsburgh synagogue had been purchased legally, a federal official said Wednesday. Authorities allege Robert Bowers opened fire at the Tree of Life synagogue as 3 congregations gathered to celebrate Shabbat services Saturday morning, killing 11 people and injuring 6 others in what's believed to be the deadliest anti-Semitic attack in U.S. history. Those are your latest updates here on Radio Cayman. I'm Shanda Gallego.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
What's happening in your community? News and information, music and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
The jaw-dropping Black Friday early sales event is on at Le Classique. Entire store is half off. That's right, you heard it, half off store-wide. Every shoe, every bag, every item is 50% off at Le Classique. Plus clearance shoes marked as low as $10 and $20. This Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, the jaw-dropping Black Friday early sales event is on. 50% off store-wide at Le Classique, 27 Mary Street, Trilogy, from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Don't miss this one, Cayman.
Congratulations, it's a boy.
During the greatest events of your life, whether or not you have the right health insurance coverage should be the last thing on your mind. That's why at Fidelity Health, we are committed to helping you get matched with the right plan to suit you and your family. We offer a range of plans to suit your budget, plus access to a network of quality care throughout the Caribbean and the USA. You can relax and enjoy life's greatest moments when you are covered with Fidelity Health. Call us today at 949-7822 for a free quote.
Okay, settle down. There's someone I want to thank. This guy knows how to get the most out of every fill-up. This guy had the common sense to drive into Esso so I could get back on the road. $5,000 richer. Thanks to me. Thank you so much, me. Thank you. Yes.
Spend $25 at any Esso service station and get a chance to win in weekly draws for $5,000 cash. Every week for 5 weeks, we'll be choosing a winner. You can also get a chance to win free fuel and prizes at our weekly spin and win events. That's $30,000 in cash and prizes to be won. Drive into an Esso station today. You'll thank yourself. The Esso brand is a trademark of ExxonMobil Corporation and is used under license.
A trip to New York City is the experience of a lifetime. Starting this December, Cayman Airways will be offering daily non-stop flights from Grand Cayman to New York City. That's right, Cayman Airways is going daily to New York City starting this December. Stroll through Central Park or take in the bright lights of Times Square, enjoy a Broadway show or visit museums, the Empire State Building, and so much more. Whether you're visiting for business or pleasure, you'll fall in love with New York City. And daily non-stop flights from Grand Cayman aboard Cayman Airways starting this December. For details and to book, call Cayman Airways reservations at 949-2311. Contact a travel agent or visit CaymanAirways.com.
Caymankind is the Cayman experience.
We work at the Cayman Craft Market.
It is a myth that we do not need the cruise ship industry.
It is a fact that when there are no ships in port, we do not earn a living. We depend on the cruise industry, and if it was to reduce by half, many others just like us would suffer immensely. We want to work and provide for our families.
We need the pier.
Support the piers. Support our tourism.
We need to talk. Okay. We've noticed you've been going to KFC a lot more than usual lately. And
that's fine. We know you love it.
We just don't understand how you can afford it.
The KFC What a Deal menu starting at just $3.50 gives you lots of great choices and value. Available at KFC Baytown Plaza, Shedden Road, and in the Strand. The KFC What a Deal value menu. The deal everyone should know about. Come to KFC and enjoy a variety of tasty choices at surprising prices. KFC, so good.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today. Thank you so much for joining us. I believe our friends from Rooster playing games with us. They forget today is the 31st of October, not the 1st of April. Yeah. Not to call Woody and talk to him about that. You know. Just because Mr. Harris is in the studio, they believe they can be up to their usual hygiene. So we run a professional studio here.
Certainly an improvement over the latter, I tell you that.
Mr. Austin Harris, together with Mr. Michael Ebanks, the acting chief officer. Gents, as we talk about immigration and the transition to work, and respectfully, we do have a caller join us. Let's see if we can be respectful to that and to you, and understand that there's only a few more minutes left for your time.
Sure.
Hey, good afternoon, and you're on Talk Today.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you today, ma'am?
Good, and good afternoon, Mr. Harris.
Good afternoon to you, ma'am.
Yes, were you in charge of the Prospect police officer parked in the morning time by the Red Bay, by the Prospect School? Were you in charge of that?
I don't know if I was in charge of it. Certainly, we were working with the police to limit the amount of traffic flowing into Prospect in the mornings, and they had posted themselves at two locations. In the first instance, they were down at Poindexter, and in the second instance, they were more internal into the Prospect constituency itself.
Yes, I just, because sometimes they're there and sometimes they're not there. And I wonder how we could ever keep that road under control with an officer when they're so needed elsewhere. But you can stick a pin there.
Yes.
What I wanted to say to you, I didn't listen to you fully since you've been on. I've just been getting bits and pieces. You mentioned something about the GEP or something is
Yes,
looking good. And
yes, the gross domestic product of the country annualized is sitting at 4%, when this time last year we forecast it to be at 3%. So we're doing better than we originally anticipated.
Okay, great. I just want to say, you're new in this, and every 4 years, part of the government is in there now, been running the house for some time now. Every 4 years, they're getting back in practically. And they come out every 4 years and go into the neighborhood to talk to the, what do you call them, constituent people?
Yes.
The persons, yes. They go and talk to them. Mr. Austin, they see the person's living conditions, and they go there, sit down and hold a conversation in regards to running for election again for another 4 years. And I know it's no blind eye to see the condition that they are living in there. And when the individuals get in, they forget about these people who put them in to run this island. What I'm trying to say, Mr. Austin, if we go, the government come out here every 4 years, or new runners come out every 4 years, run against the house and go to my rundown yard, my rundown house, and I help put you in the house, and when you get in, you forget what condition you came and saw me in. I may say you promised me something, or you didn't promise, but you saw my living condition, and nothing has been done in regards to my living condition. Next 4 years, you come out again, or another one come out again, and see my living condition, and it just keeps going on and on and on and on. So what I'm trying to say is, how can people come out here and run for the government and see the condition that our people are living in, from the senior citizens up to the younger ones with children and so forth? Not to say that I just can't see where Cayman is going when it comes to our people, how they are living in such a rich island. Who are we building Cayman for? And Mr. Austin, I want to ask you, have you heard of anything of your government saying that they're going to come out here and have another meeting in regards to the sport, especially having a meeting with the taxi drivers, the water sport people, and the tour buses? And do you know if they do build this pier, will there be any shops built out in the area when these guys come off of these cruise ships to come into Georgetown? Are there going to be any stores built out there? We can't get an answer to that. There was a lot of questions at the 26th of September, and we cannot get no answers all now. Do you know if your government coming out again to tell us something in regards to who's going to gain and who's going to lose? Are we going to bring more buses on the road for tour and water sports, or more taxi drivers going to be coming out to join that line to go to this new pier that we so want to build? Mr. Austin, I just ask you, keep your platform and strong and fight for we, the people of this island, because we have absolutely no way to go. We do need a pair. Don't get me wrong. Please don't get me wrong. But the fact remains, when they were talking about going various places, they didn't want to go there. But it all been up over the rich folks' homes, and it's not fair to go and tell them they have to move because we want to build a pier. Now, if the government want to make a road, they go to Dog City to get a piece of property from my yard. They go to Mary Street to get a piece of property from Jim yard, and they pay them what they want to pay them. Or the person say, well, no, I don't want that. I want more money. So just how we can go and take this poor little folks piece of property to make a road, we need to get up to Red Bay and do something in regards. No disrespect to them people, please. No disrespect. Don't misunderstand me, please. Don't misunderstand me.
All right.
Well,
thanks,
I want to thank the caller for her remarks. Let me take her last question first. I can assure the caller that there is no upland development planned as part of the port redevelopment project. That means there will be no stores, other than the stores that are on the land side, and that was done partly to mitigate against the potential for environmental damage or loss. The piers are being moved into deeper water. That means less dredging. So it's interesting to hear the concerns and the complaints, because when the piers were in their first design, I didn't support it, nor did many people. But clearly the government over the last 5 years has clearly listened to the complaints, have agreed with many of them, and have sought a redrafted version of the plan, and that was shared in the public domain. At the last meeting, there's a dedicated website for the cruise berthing facility. I think it's supporttourism.ky, where all of the publications, all of the information, all of the designs that are available to date are included on that website. Presently, we are in the process of whittling down the final bids from the last 3 preferred bidders. That is expected by the end of November. From those bids that are submitted, we may very well see some changes to the design model itself, but we won't know that until the end of November. Once those bids are received, we will be examining them. I say we, the Central Tenders Committee, because no politicians are involved in the procurement or the selection of bidders. To avoid that political interference that persons once upon a time were shouting at the tops of their lungs that they couldn't have. So we anticipate by the early first quarter 2019, we will have arrived at a design, a bid, a finance arrangement, how we're going to pay for it, and at that point in time, those details can be shared. As far as it relates to the taxi operators, again, part of the cruise port design is to incorporate the Georgetown revitalization aspect into the equation. That means better flow for our tour buses and taxi drivers. That means covered structures, so themselves, their customers can be protected from the elements. I understand from Minister Joseph Yu that the Georgetown revitalization again calls for the pedestrianizing of certain aspects of Hogstye Bay. That will improve the traffic flow in and out of that facility to accommodate what we anticipate are in the region of 2.3 million cruise visitors on an annual basis. The economic benefits that will flow from that will be significant. As it relates to her, I can only take them as general remarks about politicians, coming into your communities, making promises, and then failing to deliver. One of the things that I pride myself in these last 15 months is keeping my promises, specifically to Prospect. Shortly after I got elected, a month after getting elected in Prospect, one of the worst roads, Mangrove, got a resurfacing from the top of the road all the way down. I'm grateful to the Minister of Planning, Minister Yu, for making that happen. Right now, we're engaging in resurfacing works on Buttonwood Avenue, followed by Orange Drive. Again, 2 major roads that are in poor condition and have been for a long time, so we're making positive strides there. I have regularly engaged in beautification in my constituency, cutting back of trees, particularly trees that may pose a danger during hurricane season. I did that on Grape Avenue. I continue to make a monthly commitment to the private park that sits at the top of Spots Newlands. This is private property, so the NRA won't cut it. I have engaged private sector services to make sure that is kept tidy for the benefit of the residents. And I do this not for praise, but to encourage the people who live in these communities that if we can keep the roadsides clean, certainly you can keep your yards clean. That means your grass cut. That means your garbage picked up. If you've got garbage on the outside, create containers for them so that the chickens and the dogs don't get at them. We have challenges, but we work through them. For persons who are, the caller referred to, dilapidated homes and needing repairs, there's two things here. First of all, there's a correct approach that is available. There is a housing repairs committee that deals with minor home repairs on an application basis. Some homes, frankly, are pending from Hurricane Ivan because they need total rebuilds. The government doesn't have those resources to rebuild a home from the ground up. And I hope that's not what the caller is suggesting. But I also hope, likewise, she's not suggesting that MLAs or elected officials who are responsible for constituencies have to pay in addition to helping persons with their mortgages, but are now required somehow to renovate homes from the ground up. Because the next thing you'll be saying is that, there's a politician buying votes again. So there is a right way and a wrong way to go about doing things. Certainly in Prospect, I make significant strides at doing everything that I promised the people of Prospect. I can't speak for other constituencies, but I like to think that each of the constituencies, if the issues are raised to their MLA, they will be addressed. Some things we're able to address quickly. Other things take more time. One of the things that I think I'm encouraged to see is happening is the neighborhood watch across the communities. That has, according to the statistics, led to a reduction in the number of burglaries and otherwise petty crime that impacts communities. It allows for community members to, again, care for their own neighborhood. Certainly, who better to know a stranger is in your community than somebody who lives in that community? Some neighborhoods, they have a number of volunteers stepping forward to participate in that neighborhood watch. And other communities, not so much. So we are working with what we have. We are encouraging communities to work together with one another, to be their brother's keeper. And certainly from my standpoint in Prospect, my primary focus has been and will continue to be keeping my word to the people of Prospect.
Mr. Harris, we were slated to discuss the workings of work and the immigration transition bill. And I know to our listeners, you had another engagement. We also have the Minister for Finance slated to come on in about 10 minutes.
Yes.
We want to get through that. We want to take some callers on my team on the other side. Saying,
well, it's really your call. We would like to share with your listening audience.
I think it's important that we get to, because this legislation is going to affect our lives.
Legislation is going to affect everyone. We think that we've hit all the key points. Again, in addition to completing the transfer of immigration to work. Mm-hmm. Again, I want to say to the public, January 2019 work will go live in terms of a soft opening, but then in June, July, it will have its official opening where it moves into its new premises, etc. What we want end users, persons who use immigration services, to get used to come January is simply, rather than going to immigration for your services, now you're going to work for these same services, work permit, stamping your permit, visas, etc. But in June and July, when the technology comes online, we will see improved efficiencies in that workflow process. In January, the forms, the applications, they remain the same. So persons aren't required to reinvent the wheel as part of this change exercise. But we hope that if we've done our homework, as we have, the workflow, the time spent in immigration, the time spent in terms of applying for whether it be work permits, permanent residence, or even Cayman status will be greatly delayed, not delayed, greatly reduced, so it will be more efficient. We believe the workforce training, the talent management that specifically addresses those Caymanians who are unemployed will improve greatly. The opportunities for upskilling for those persons who are unemployed to make them more attractive to find jobs will be improving. We are filling some very key, important roles. Of course, we had Ms. Sharon Rolston come on board as a new director of work. I'm delighted to say we took on two very competent and capable Caymanians as deputy directors, Mr. Jeremy Scott taking over compliance and Ms. Shan Paradou taking over labour supply needs. Both of them come with a civil service background, but also both an immigration and business development background, and I think they will be important. They will fill key important positions that will be responsible for some important outcomes. Coming up in a few weeks, we're currently doing interviews for the Deputy Director of Business Operations. That person will be responsible for the HR, finance, and customer service roles of work. So we are making positive strides that will lead us to accomplishing our goal at the end of our term, which is 100% employment of Caymanians who are looking for work. In terms of the specific changes that will be included in the immigration transition bill, we will create the ability for a permanent resident who's a British Overseas Territory citizen by virtue of their connection with another overseas territory to apply for the right to be Caymanian on the grounds of residence, having been here for 15 years. Of course, the first caveat is that you're a permanent resident. You've been here for 15 years or more. This change was introduced due to the fact that the current principal pathway to becoming a Caymanian for long-term residents through naturalization is not available to persons who are citizens of other British Overseas Territories. So we made those changes based on feedback that we received from members of the public, and we hope that will lend itself to streamlining and making the process more efficient. Another key change is we have removed the provision of key employee facility and any of the consequential provisions attached to it. So key employee will now move away. As I stated on 2 shows earlier on, it's not just about making our services to our clients, the unemployed, the employed, the private sector, the businesses who use the work permit regime. It's not merely about making the processes more convenient, but it is also holding those private sector entities to account. And that is, of course, the enforcement aspect of our labor laws. That includes training of Caymanians, hiring Caymanians, identifying Caymanians within the workforce who are suited for middle or senior management, upward promotion. So in addition to the work that has already undergone in the transition bill, there will also be future legislation in the second quarter, perhaps, of 2019, which will see the introduction of the Fair Employment Opportunities Commission. So I say all of that to say that the government has been diligently working on producing the remedy, if you will, or the vehicle that will address and improve the labor situation, particularly amongst Caymanians, both in the short term, but also allow us to better plan our labor market needs for the next 10, 15, 20 years.
In the closing minutes, there's just 3 things, Mr. Harris, that we could perhaps clarify. We understand that the legislation would also remove the restriction for those who currently are here 9 years now.
Yes.
They can now apply for permanent residency.
That is correct. What happened is that persons who have resided in the Cayman Islands for up to 9 years can, in fact, apply for permanent residency. We've noticed 2 situations. 2 things have happened. Number one, persons who forget that this is year 9 or year 8, so they don't apply for permanent residency. There is a window. I'm not sure of the period of time. I think it's 6 months after 9 years or something in that region that persons may apply. Again, combined with forgetting that they've been here that long, they aren't aware that there is a required minimum window. So if you apply on month 7, for example, you're out of luck. Now you have to start all over again from year 1 if your goal is to apply for permanent residency. So we have listened to the community. We've listened to those who otherwise would like to be a part of our society, and we've decided to remove that 9-year requirement, if you will.
Okay. And then the other 2 things, does the legislation address either of these 2 issues? A person has permanent residency but is no longer living or working in Cayman, so they've been absent from the jurisdiction. They're no longer here. What's their immigration status? So, I mean, do they still have PR? They do, and the legislation addresses the criteria under which the PR may be lost. And so that's just one of a number of different grounds on which it can be lost. So when we're absent from the country for a certain period of time, save for some exceptional circumstances. So in that instance, that is addressed, and we can flesh that out at some point. I won't ask. And then the second thing is that we had understand from media accounts in the years past, people presumably were granted permanent residency hadn't paid their fees. In those instances, what happens now? Is the legislation addressing that? If I go to Foster's and don't pay for my groceries,
it is regrettable. I have encountered since being in the last 15 months situations just like that. Unfortunately, whilst every situation is different, and there are persons who have difficulties, but to your point, you wanted permanent residence, you applied for permanent residence, it was approved and you received it, but there's a fee applicable to that privilege. Persons who receive permanent residence are obligated to pay that fee. Those that cannot will have their permanent residence revoked. And it's and similarly, the legislation continues to provide for that revocation. Okay, so there's a matter of enforcement and sort of looking at it, and it's just a question. I mean, yes. All right. We know that you're going to, more than likely have the opportunities on other programs, whether here already came on for the record this one, but certainly to speak to this issue either, before or after the legislation is there. And I do understand that your time, both of you, are certainly pressing. Thank you. I just want to say to your listening audience, I will be back specifically with Mr. Charles Clifford next Monday, the 5th of November, for On the Record, where we will talk about the Customs and Border Control Bill and what sort of changes members of the public can expect to see, as well as continuing to encourage and support our hardworking uniform branch, those officers serving in the capacity of either Customs or Immigration. The change is not a bad thing, and this change is certainly not a bad thing. It'll be opportunities for growth and upward mobility, and we're grateful we're starting to see thinkings change internally within the organization. But again, we will be back here on Radio Cayman next Monday to talk about the Customs and Border Control aspect of the bills that will come to the Legislative Assembly on the 14th of November. Well, thank you both very, very much. And as we sit here, listeners, when we come back, we'll get a chance to speak to the Honourable Minister Roy McTaggart. Certainly interested in that discussion, so stay tuned for Talk Today.
The jaw-dropping Black Friday early sales event is on at Le Classique. Entire store is half off. That's right, you heard it, half off store-wide. Every shoe, every bag, every item is 50% off at Le Classique. Plus clearance shoes marked as low as $10 and $20. This Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, the jaw-dropping Black Friday early sales event is on. 50% off store-wide at Le Classique, 27 Mary Street, Trilogy, from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Don't miss this one, Cayman.
CUC advises participants in the Green Iguana Culling Program to exercise extreme caution around the CUC's poles and power lines, especially when extracting iguanas from trees or branches that are in close proximity to poles and power lines. Participants should keep all objects such as poles, sticks, or hooks away from any CUC equipment to avoid any electrical contact. For further information, please contact our customer service team at 949-5200 or via email at service@cuc.ky.
Sometimes things just don't go as planned. That's why you need Contractors All-Risk Insurance from Fidelity Insurance Brokers. Ensure you're covered in the event of property damage and third-party injury or damage claims during your construction projects. And with Fidelity Insurance Brokers, you can be sure you are getting competitive pricing and superior customer service. Call us today for a free quote. Fidelity, we're good for you.
At Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
Hi, I'm thinking of buying a car from the States. Which port do you ship out of?
Hi, we ship out of Miami, Houston, and Brooklyn. Just let us know your port of choice and we can provide you with a quotation and answer any questions you may have on insuring and protecting your vehicle during its journey.
Shipping shore to shore, Seaboard.
The pirate pirates having a party, a kind of a masquerade.
The Pirates Week National Festival is here. Don your best pirate costumes and get ready to rock the island with a jam-packed lineup of music, food, parades, fireworks, revelry, runs, song competitions, and underwater treasure hunt, the annual turtle release, children's fun day, beach cleanups, street dances, and so much more. Go to piratespeakfestival.com to see the full list of events. The Pirates Week Festival 2018. It'll be a year to remember. Sponsored by the Ministry of Tourism, the Department of Tourism, Cayman Airways, the TAB, Monster Media, and Radio Cayman.
The whole island is one big party, party, party. South Coast Bar and Grill up in Breakers, man, that is the place. For traditional Cayman cuisine, oh, you will love the taste. At South Coast Bar and Grill, we got conch and lobster and turtle stew. And every Sunday, come out with your family for the barbecue.
South Coast Bar and Grill by the seaside, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. daily, lunch and dinner. Call us at 947-2517.
For Cayman and cuisine, the talk today is South Coast Bar and Grill.
Welcome to our Esso service station. How can I help you today, ma'am?
$25 in fuel, please.
Sure. I bet I can make you smile, too.
Bet you can't.
Would $5,000 cash make you smile?
Of course. Who wouldn't? But how?
Spend $25 or more in fuel at any of our Esso service stations, and you could be the winner of $5,000 cash. Every week for 5 weeks, one lucky winner will win $5,000 cash. Made you smile, didn't I?
I'm smiling.
Drive into an Esso station today. The Esso brand is a trademark of ExxonMobil Corporation and is used under license.
Ditch the competition and switch to Flow for up to 60% off our mobile, TV, and broadband services. Switch now for faster download speeds, better call quality, and lower roaming rates on Flow's fastest 4G LTE network. Plus, with clear streaming, you'll enjoy the ultimate in home entertainment at the best value. Flow's raising the stakes, so switch and soar to new heights with us. Flow, Cayman's biggest network, proven #1 by an independent report. Visit discoverflow.ky for more. Terms and conditions apply.
Cruise tourism is a vital part of Cayman's economy. It is the government's responsibility to create an environment where our people can have an opportunity to grow and prosper today, tomorrow, and into the future. It is a myth that Cayman does not need cruise tourism. It is a fact that cruise passengers spend $200 million per year buying services from small businesses, tour operators, attractions, restaurants, and retail shops. Those funds stay right here, supporting our economy and communities. Support the pairs. Support
CUC
our
advises
tourism.
motorists that in an effort to alert approaching drivers of speed restrictions when entering an area of road where CUC vehicles and personnel are present, the company will be deploying rumble strips. These rumble strips are a series of raised transverse rubber strips laid across the road which changes the noise of vehicles' tires make on the surface and so warning drivers of speed restrictions. On approaching CUC's work zones, motorists will observe bright orange road signs signifying rumble strips ahead. Before entering these work zones, motorists will encounter the rumble strips that are encouraged to drive with extreme caution at slow speeds until they are well clear of the work zones. These rumble strips are essential to safeguarding against potential danger to CUC personnel. If you have any questions regarding the use of rumble strips, please contact our customer service team at 949-5200 or via email at service@cuc.ky.
Talk today.
But I do have some questions.
Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. Thank you so much for joining us, and we have a chance now to talk about the upcoming census 2020. You say your vision is 2020. Well, the census is no different. Honorable Minister Roy McTaggart joins us together with Ms. Maria Zingerman, and we get accountants and economists together. Two people.
You see that, it's going to be trouble.
Man. Two people we get many opinions. Because there's a right answer in everything, right? Sir, it's a pleasure to include you in our studio today. And thank you so much for joining us. As we look at the numbers, whether it's the economy or whether it's our population, whether we see the parameters that guide us as to what policy should come down the pipeline, information like this is timely.
Absolutely. And it's hard to believe it, but that time is now upon us.
Yeah. Time is nigh.
And I'm delighted again to be here with you, and thank you for hosting us and for giving us the opportunity to really to alert your listeners to what is upcoming and educate them a little bit about the whole process and what to expect on Census Day. But yes, it's the focus now is on census.
From two perspectives, and maybe we could ask. There are some that I know who were enumerators in the last census and who were saying, I would like to do it again. It's a lot of work. We get to learn a lot about the process. And when information is revealed and it becomes public, you get an insight. Yes, thankfully, those enumerators are very competent and confidential and the like. But it gives an appreciation for the country as you go into people's homes. Ms. Maria?
Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to reiterate our appreciation for hosting us this afternoon. Yes, in the last census, we had about 270 enumerators who were trained extensively on how to do interviews for the census. I think this time around in 2020, we might have more, probably like 300 enumerators. And if you remember, Dwayne, we had a number of civil servants, including teachers. But this time around, and as you know, we were encouraged by the cabinet actually to train as many young Caymanians who are willing to be trained to do enumeration work for Census 2020.
And think about it, that's going to be, as Honourable Minister shared, October 2020. So 2 years, thereabouts, 1 year, 11 months.
Yeah.
Honourable Minister, from the perspective of the census and the data it collects and that information, whether it's the population and the demographic, whether it's the need for housing, for us as a people, why is it so important that we look at this?
Well, I think let me just preface everything I say by this one, Sterling, and that is that this effort to conduct a national census is probably the single biggest undertaking that the Economics and Statistics Office will do, and the importance of it cannot be underestimated. But essentially what we're going to do is we're going to stick a pin and say, I think it's 10/10/20, Ms. Maria?
Yep. Yes, October 10, 2020.
Yep, so October 10th, 2020. On that day, we are going to survey every single person who is a resident in this country. And as with every other census before that, we will be taking extracting or asking for them to complete and answer a number of questions that will provide government with a wealth of information that will help to inform a lot of other policy decisions that government will take in the future. By way of an example, in the past, these surveys have been helped to inform the review of our electoral boundaries. They have also helped significantly in the planning for education in the education sector. Where do we site schools, depending on where the population is located? Business sector as well uses it extensively in terms of their business planning activities and where commercial development is likely to take place. It helps with roads and transportation planning. Also strategic planning for the elderly, because we do collect quite a bit of information about people and their homes and their economic well-being. Strategic planning for persons with disabilities is another example that it helps to inform that, and also it helps inform it's helped in the past to inform our national energy policy. So extremely important, probably the single most important survey that government takes, because what it does is it also resets a lot of the bars with regard to or population statistics and the demographics, because simply you have actual information, not just estimates.
Can we clarify or at least understand two things? One, we know in some jurisdictions, perhaps because of the mechanisms, perhaps because of the sheer physical size as well as the number of people who live there, they may do a sampling. In Cayman, it is our understanding that we count or try to count every household, every single person.
Right. There are countries, the U.S. for example, where they would have a sample. They would have what they call a full questionnaire for a sample of households, but they would have a smaller questionnaire with fewer questions for all households. In the case of Cayman, we have to implement the full questionnaire for all households. Nonetheless, not all questions may be relevant to all members of the households. For example, there are some questions that are meant for 15 years old and above. There are some questions meant for those who are employed, and some questions meant for those who are unemployed. No? So, although in the last census we had 67 questions, not everyone will really be responding to each question. Yeah.
Some questions maybe for are you a male or female? Are you
right?
Things like that.
For the elderly.
For the elderly, right. And then the other thing, I gather in some census they may be counting everybody who's there.
Yes.
In our case, are
only
we counting
residents.
Only residents? So you may be a tourist staying in Cayman for 3 months on an extended holiday.
No, you won't
be counted.
Yeah.
You may only be here for 3 hours. You're not counted. But if you're living here permanently, it's only for the house.
Yeah.
Okay. For what it's worth, why do we do it that way as opposed to counting everybody?
Yeah. Okay. Because what we intend to do, what most countries intend to do with census data, is to really use them for, as the minister explained earlier, for socio-economic development planning. So, of course, you don't necessarily plan for the education of tourists. So your intention really is to plan for the long-term residents. So you don't really need to count temporary visitors into the island. So it's a pragmatic way. Otherwise, you will be investing a lot of resources. For example, if you have to count cruise tourists, in the islands, and there are about 15 or 20,000 of them. That will almost increase your so-called population by such a large number. When in fact you only have about, as of spring 2018, we have about 64,000 residents.
Interesting. 2010 we were at 50,000 plus?
55,036. 55036.
Yes.
But what's striking is that in the last 20 years to watch almost a doubling of our population, right? Or if you look at it. So those sort of data would help us to understand what potential we should be looking at.
Yeah. For example, Dwayne, in the last census we find out that the population in Bodian Town is almost as high as West Bay, in other words. And that would have implications on, for example, the school-going age. How many schools should be deployed over in that area, right? So there are a lot of dynamic changes that will be captured in census that cannot be captured in any other data collection. And especially you want, or our policymakers would like to drill down, with subsets of the population. For example, the National Council for the Persons with Disability would just want, of course, to check the socio-economic data or profile or characteristics of those with disability, right? And as well as the National Council for the Elderly would want to focus on the elderly. And those who would like to look into the employment situation of the youth, for example, would want to drill down on those subpopulation. for example, the Census 2010 data is the only source of information that we have with regards to youth unemployment rate, because we cannot calculate that from the labor force survey, because the samples in the labor force survey are so few that you cannot credibly, estimate the unemployment rate among the young people.
Some people, perhaps just ask, thus far, over a census data we've collected, even presumably to go back to the most recent, how receptive and are people to participate in the census? And so what sort of take-up, what sort of response rate?
Well, we're quite happy that, let's say the labor force survey, we have one of the highest response rates in the region. For example, in the spring 2018, we had a response rate of 96%. And so that's really quite high, for anything in the region that's higher than 65 is already good, but so we expect a similar response rate, if not higher response rate for Census 2020.
And perhaps it's me, but I understand the importance of it and always, appreciate the opportunity to share publicly once the data has been collected. From that perspective, there are people who may have, whether it's the business individual, whether it's the, homeowner or just that individual, any concerns about confidentiality and disclosure, like, can we help to lay their affairs so that they understand that we're giving this information to be used for the greater good?
All right. We have come a long way, because since 2010, there were amendments in the statistics law, right? For example, the 2011 revision of the law makes all individual data confidential, which means that they cannot be provided to any third party outside the ESO. In other words, no one outside of ESO can have access to it. They cannot be requested even by FOI. They're exempted from EFI. And Dwayne, actually, the ESO law, the statistics law, is much stronger than the data protection law. Because we are not at all allowed to provide personal information to anyone, and it has to be used exclusively for statistical purposes.
And that's the thing, Honourable Minister, that level of confidentiality, because for what it's worth, our people rarely want to talk about how much they're making, what they're spending, those personal details.
No, and there is that reluctance, to reveal those kinds of details. But I'd just like to pick up from where where Miss Maria, left off with this. And, I think in Cayman now, I understand the feelings are there, but I think we have to get beyond that. Government has taken all the measures it can reasonably take to protect the integrity of data that is submitted. Not even another government entity, or even my ministry, Ministry of Finance, under whom the ESO falls, could get any of the raw data that any member of the public would give to the to the ESO for purposes of their sampling or whatever information is they're collecting. And I mean, there has never, to the best of my knowledge, been any breach of confidentiality coming out of the ESO office. None. And so, they go to great pains to protect the data that is given to them.
We have other measures, really, because we anonymize all data. In our database, you don't see any name, no names of persons. And when we go to households, it's optional for them to give their real names. For example, we can just call, instead of Roy, you can say person 1, person 2, 3, 4,
Donald Duck even.
It's just the information that we're looking for. We talked about the usage. Now, you referenced something, and I would like if you would be so inclined to emphasize that training of your enumerators, those people who are going to go out in the evenings and collect, that process is going to be assigned to certain areas, and they're going to go out and they're going to look at particular households. They're trained, they're sworn to a level of confidentiality that
yes.
should share with us so that people appreciate it, and it's not just to be glossed over.
Right. There are several layers of screening, as we call it. First of all, their qualification. They must be at least high school graduates, and they must, of course, know how to use tablets, right? And just for their own protection, we require them to have their driver's license and health insurance, right? And the second layer will be an actual training, at least a week-long training, right, on all aspects of the census, including how to interview, how to approach people, how to convince people, or persuade. We don't really want to go there and threaten you per se with the law, although the law requires them. Yeah, and second thing, they must pass a test. After training, there's an examination on how you can execute the census taking as trained, right? So not everyone who gets trained will be actually hired, right? That's the second layer. The third would be there will be field supervisors who will supervising. There's one field supervisor for every 5 enumerators who will validate the process. Or if the enumerator will have issues with a particular household, the field supervisor can just go and help as well. Well, over the years, we also had this cooperation with RCIPS, just to let them know that our people are on the field, right? Because we are also concerned with the households concerned about security, right? Mm-hmm. So our enumerators go out there with IDs, with the protection vest as well, with proper uniforms, right, to identify who they are, right? But still, there are some households who are concerned about people knocking at their doors at 8 o'clock or 8:30, and we make it always a point to inform RCIPS that we have some people out there in the field who will be knocking the doors of households, just in case, because some households will actually call police officers, and they also need that assurance that we have legitimate surveys or field work going on. Yeah, and so just again, in terms of the enumerators keeping all data confidential, right? They know that there's a provision in the statistics law that penalizes all who might be using or inadvertently providing the data to people other than ESO people, right? So it's it's punishable by law, right? And as the minister said, we are thankful to the Lord, really, that our enumerators have really been law-abiding, have been complying to the strict confidentiality clauses in their service agreements.
And that's important. It instills confidence in the process. Certainly, for those of us who have been on the receiving end, the enumerator comes around and knocks, and gladly we'll come back at an agreed time. If you can't do it then, and you sit and you are sharing information, but there's a confidentiality and there's a comfort.
And I think it's extremely important that you have the public have that confidence and know that the the day-to-day supply is confidential. Because if it isn't what they expect, then you're not likely to get very accurate information. If there is that overall mistrust still present. So I think I keep plugging it away at it slowly but surely wherever I do have the opportunity to speak about ESO and the data that we do collect at all times. I mean, they do a very sterling job. Indeed. Of doing so and protecting the data that is provided to them. And Ms. Maria mentioned that the fact that data that is submitted, it is anonymized, so that Roy McTaggart's name isn't going to appear inside any of the data that they have. They'll have some method of identification of the person, but not my name.
Yeah. It also helps a lot that the community knows where and how the data is used. For example, we have reporting on the unemployment rates, and we just make it a point always that this is how it's being used.
Mm-hmm.
So it's also good that the data is actually used by our policymakers, and and in analyzing the health of the economy. And that way, the community knows knows fully well that as we use their data as we promised.
Mm. Well, when we come back from our break, maybe share a few more minutes with us talking about the upcoming census 2020. I like how it sounds, the importance of it, and hopefully encourage all of us to participate, as the minister shared, openly, honestly, and accurately, so that we have a true picture of our economy, its health, its housing, its population. So please stay tuned for Talk Today.
Radio Cayman. Radio Cayman's newsroom. Headline. These are the biggest stories right now.
The Cayman Islands conch and wilk seasons open on Thursday. Each year, the open seasons for conch and wilk serve as a way for residents to sustainably harvest the marine delicacies, leaving enough of both species for future generations to enjoy. The open season, which runs from November 1st through to April 30th, allows for the taking of conch and wilk within legal limits. In news elsewhere, Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi was strangled as soon as he entered the Saudi consulate in Istanbul as part of a premeditated killing, and his body was dismembered before it was removed, a top Turkish prosecutor said Wednesday. The chief Istanbul prosecutor also said in a statement that discussions with Saudi chief prosecutor yielded no concrete result despite Turkey's good-intentioned efforts to reveal the truth. The statement was the first public confirmation by a Turkish official that Khashoggi was strangled and mutilated after he entered the Saudi consulate on October 2nd. It also pointed to a lack of cooperation from Saudi officials in the investigation of the slaying. Britain's Brexit secretary has told lawmakers that he expects a long-elusive divorce deal with the European Union to be finalized before November 21st, though there is still little sign of a breakthrough on the vexed issue on the Irish border. Dominic Raab told Parliament's exiting the EU committee that he will give evidence to them when a deal is finalized and currently expect 21st of November to be suitable. Raab's October 24th letter was released by the committee on Wednesday. Those are your latest updates here on Radio Cayman. I'm Shanda Gallego.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
What's happening in your community? News and information, music and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
We know you like a little bit of fun. So if you're not too busy and you wouldn't mind winning some free fuel, join us at an Esso station for 1 hour every Friday while this offer lasts. This Friday, we're giving you the chance to spin the wheel and win free fuel. Simply spend $10 at the pump or in-store for your lucky chance. So see you at our H&B 1 West Bay Road service station between 12 p.m. and 1 p.m. Esso. Energy lives here. The Esso brand is a trademark of ExxonMobil Corporation and is used under license.
King Sports Center takes pride in being more than just an ordinary gymnasium. For 14 years, their multi-purpose facility has been providing the community with a variety of sporting, recreational, and relaxation activities. King Sports Center has a bowling alley, lounge bar, multi-purpose rooms, powerhouse gym, rock climbing wall, bungee jumping, a 10,000 square foot rink, and so much more. For more information on the variety of services, call their friendly staff today at 946-5464 or email kings@candw.ky or visit www.kingsportscenter.com. King Sports Center, your one-stop shop for fitness, recreation, and relaxation.
The pirates having a party, a kind of a masquerade.
The Pirates Week National Festival is here. Don your best pirate costumes and get ready to rock the island with a jam-packed lineup of music, food, parades, fireworks, revelry, runs, song competitions, and underwater treasure hunt, the annual turtle release, children's fun day, beach cleanups, street dances, and so much more. Go to piratesweekfestival.com to see the full list of events. The Pirates Pirates Week Festival 2018. It'll be a year to remember. Sponsored by the Ministry of Tourism, the Department of Tourism, Cayman Airways, the TAB, Monster Media, and Radio Cayman.
The whole island is one big, big party, party, party.
Thousands of Caymanians work in our cruise tourism industry. It is a myth that Cayman does not need cruise tourism. It is a fact that 4,500 Caymanians work in this industry today as taxi and tour operators, boat captains and crew, restaurateurs, retailers, water sports operators, and ambassadors at our. If our cruise tourism industry is half of what it is today, what are we going to do with our people, the thousands of unemployed Caymanians? Support the peers, support our tourism.
Talk today.
But I do have some questions.
Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thanks for joining us in the studio. Honorable Minister Roy McTaggart and Ms. Maria Zingapan joins us as we talk about the upcoming Census 2020. And I was just thinking, thank you so much for reminding us. As some was sitting, well, this is, okay, yeah, Christmas isn't that far away. Yeah, you could be thinking of Easter, but 2020, that seems like a long time. No, Ms. Maria, that's tomorrow, if you think about it, right? It's not that far away.
Yeah. Well, it's actually a convention for census preparation to be at least 2 years ahead of the census. For example, you may have heard of the preparations in the U.S., although, of course, that's a larger population, but they've done it way, way ahead of us. And they're actually now going into the questions, and you may have read in the news as well that there's a controversy over there with regards to one question, citizenship, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, and that is why it takes a lot, because you have to consult data users with respect to the questions that have to be asked, whether it's relevant for their sector planning, etc. And there might be new questions that have to be asked. For example, we already received a request from one ministry that they would like to have maybe 1 or 2 questions on the cultural habits of the population. We have to evaluate that, whether it's the census is the best way of getting that data from the population. So it's a very dynamic process, and we also have to bear in mind that we have to prepare a lot of what we call enumeration area maps. And these maps are very important because these are the very maps that were used when we had to map, for example, the voting age population among Caymanians. We had to count them by enumeration area. What is an enumeration area? It's actually an area comprising of 100 households, approximately, right? So we have to subdivide the entire islands, the 3 islands, into areas comprising 100 households. Okay, so one would make one enumeration area map. Okay, and as I mentioned earlier, there were about 270 maps that were produced for Census 2010. We think that with the increase in population, we might have probably 300 maps. So and they have to be, so therefore the Census 2010 maps have to be reviewed, and some may have to be redrawn, okay, because there might now be an overlap within. So there's a lot of preparation that is needed. For example, we have to do what we call a household registry update. So we had some people from ESO for the last May up to August who went around, right, and counted and described household addresses. So it's a very tedious, laborious work. So based on that listing of households, now we have what we call a household registry, on the basis of which we will review the maps. Okay, so that takes about at least a year. So between the work on that will start first quarter of next year, and probably up to the end of next year.
But Minister, as Ms. Maria shares, I hear the word meticulous, attention to detail, so that the accuracy of that information is even more assured. That you get it, you know where you go, you know the areas look like. In that household, this is what I'm expecting, so that the questions are answered in a certain way.
And they have to be framed in such a way that they elicit the information that you are seeking to capture. That's a very extremely important element of it. And so while, yes, we're looking at these things in the question and information that a ministry might particularly like to solicit, you got to spend some time formulating and then I think probably testing the questions to make sure that you get the responses that you are seeking and that you don't end up with erroneous information or data you can't rely on.
Yeah. Well, as we go forward, get just more information on the types of questions, but the testing aspect, Ms. Marie, well, share with us. Yeah.
Okay, there are several layers again, right? So once a question is submitted, we have to test several ways of putting it into census wording. Okay, so we look into how it is framed in other censuses in other territories or countries, and then we will test it among several groups among residents, right? And then we will have to do that through what we call a pilot census. So the set of questions that have been pre-finalized in a sense, will be asked among a sample of households in a pilot census, which is scheduled for October 2019. Okay, so again, that's another way of testing. For example, we will check whether a certain group of questions will have what we call low response rates. Mainly because, number one, the informants or the households may have no recollection of the responses or answers. For example, in Census 2010, there was a question on how many of the household members have left the island, right, and did not come back within a 10-year period. That question, it went well during the testing, but in the actual census, it had a very, very low response rate. So, it's very, very dynamic. So we want to make sure this time that it is well tested.
Right, and again, information that can be useful if you look at your migration.
Yeah.
Policies as a result of statistics informed by census.
Right.
Absolutely.
Sounds like a campaign slogan.
Yes.
I should be here, so. But as we look at it, what would we do, more the listeners in particular to understand, this census is crucial. I mean, it's once every 10 years. We're almost taking the day out, and setting it aside and saying, we would like you to be able to understand that. So is it expectation that on that date everybody's going to be out and expected to finish it akin to a balance sheet in a sense?
Essentially, if you can correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Maria, but I mean, on that day you're expecting to count every single person. I mean, perhaps you can explain what happens if it doesn't happen.
Right. Well, October 10 is called the reference date. In other words, we will be asking questions with respect to
that date.
To that date.
Gotcha.
Where, are you a resident of Georgetown? Because the following day you may have moved to West Bay.
Right.
What we are interested is on your residency on October 10, 2020.
Right.
Yeah. But it takes 4 weeks to finish all districts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which is when you do inventory and you're preparing your information, as at this date, this was the status. The bank balance was X.
Yeah. Yes.
So it's
and there's a reason for it, right? Mm-hmm. Because we want to compare at least 2 censuses. The last one was done October 10, 2010, and as much as possible, you want to compare it with similar or approximately the same reference date.
Yeah. With that, though, I was wondering, with the pilot census, so a year prior, in October 2019, there'll be a pilot census. So similar sampling of households. If the questions are similar, is there a way to use that pilot census and then compare it to the larger ones who are, should be indicative to some extent?
Actually, this pilot census is still, it may sound as if it's kind of tentative. However, we will be making use of the data on labor force questions to estimate still their usual labor force indicators, such as unemployment rate, the employment rate among the population, etc. So it's still a very useful source of indicators, socioeconomic indicators, except that, of course, you won't be expecting a count of the population from it, right? Yeah.
But there should be certain things that would be indicative.
Yeah.
All right. Any sort of closing thoughts in relation to the census, Honourable Minister?
Well, my purpose really, I think, just is to let the public know that this is now coming upon us, that we have started work on it, and I want to sensitize the public with regard to the fact that this is coming down, the road for us in the future. A lot of things happening behind the scenes. We've got put together a Census Advisory Committee that right now is very active. It comprises both public and private sector individuals, and they have started their work, and fairly sizable number of people who are part of that committee that will be helping us through this process. So, really to make the public aware of it and to start sensitizing them to its presence and ultimately what will come in the months ahead.
Yeah. With respect, we just had a message in from one of our listeners asking, with respect to the census questions, if there is a way for members of the public or organizations to submit questions for consideration.
Oh, okay. We have actually opened the consultation process, mainly to the Census Advisory Committee, right? And through as well, we have a committee called National Statistics Coordination Committee, and there's some members of that committee who are not members of the Census Advisory Committee. But for sure, they can send the questions. What I would like to advise them is that they can go and look in the Census 2010 questions, which are available in our website, www.eso.ky. Just click under reports, you have the Census 2010, where you have a list of, not a list, but actually the questionnaire itself appended to the Census 2010 report, right? And if they would like to suggest a question. But make sure that the question is something that should be collected from all households. That's the caution there. That it's not, the census is not meant to collect any question, right? But it's something that should be collected from all or relevant for all households.
Right. Okay. Yeah. See that participation, and thanks so much, Ms. Maria. Honourable Minister, thanks very much.
Thank you very much for hosting us. Look forward to being back at another time.
Well, the standing invitation is there. And economics and statistics, man, that's the stuff that gets someone excited. Others, it's race cars and horses, but hey, who knows, right? We'll pause and take a break, and when we come back, get a chance to share with you about the upcoming DEH bulk waste cleanup campaign. So stay tuned for Talk Today.
We know you like a little bit of fun. So if you're not too busy and you wouldn't mind winning some free fuel, join us at an Esso station for 1 hour every Friday while this offer lasts. This Friday, we're giving you the chance to spin the wheel and win free fuel. Simply spend $10 at the pump or in-store for your lucky chance. So see you at our H&B 1 West Bay Road service station between 12 p.m. and 1 p.m. Esso. Energy lives here.
The Esso brand is a trademark of ExxonMobil Corporation and is used under license.
King Sports Center takes pride in being more than just an ordinary gymnasium. For 14 years, their multi-purpose facility has been providing the community with a variety of sporting, recreational, and relaxation activities. King Sports Center has a bowling alley, lounge bar, multi-purpose rooms, powerhouse gym, rock climbing wall, bungee jumping, a 10,000 square foot rink, and so much more. For more information on the variety of services, call their friendly staff today at 946-5464 or email kings@candw.ky or visit www.kingsportscenter.com. King Sports Center, your one-stop shop for fitness, recreation, and relaxation.
The pirates having a party, a kind of a masquerade.
The Pirates Week National Festival is here. Don your best pirate costumes and get ready to rock the island with a jam-packed lineup of music, food, parades, fireworks, revelry, runs, song competitions, and underwater treasure hunt, the annual turtle release, children's fun day, beach cleanups, street dances, and so much more. Go to piratesweekfestival.com to see the full list of events. The Pirates Week Festival 2018. It'll be a year to remember. Sponsored by the Ministry of Tourism, the Department of Tourism, Cayman Airways, the TAB, Monster Media, and Radio Cayman.
The whole island is one big party, party, party.
Thousands of Caymanians work in our cruise tourism industry. It is a myth that Cayman does not need cruise tourism. It is a fact that 4,500 Caymanians work in this industry today as taxi and tour operators, boat captains and crew, restaurateurs, retailers, water sports operators, and ambassadors at our attractions. If our cruise tourism industry is half of what it is today, what are we going to do with our people, the thousands of unemployed Caymanians? Support the peers, support our tourism.
Talk today.
But I do have some questions.
Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us. An honor to be able to welcome our good friends from the Department of Environmental Health, in particular, Ms. Stacey Anderson. And you know, every year approaching Christmas, I think the public has become expectant almost. Some jumped the gun a little earlier for the annual bulk waste sort of roadside cleanup exercise that takes place throughout the entire country. So get a chance for you to share with us and maybe get people to start thinking about what we can do to make it effective and efficient. At the end of the day, achieve our objectives so that Christmas and the year is even better. All right. So, Ms. Stacey, good afternoon to you, Mom. It's a pleasure.
Good afternoon to you, Mr. Sterling. Good afternoon to your listeners also, and thank you for having me this evening.
Always a pleasure, man. You guys do a phenomenal job, and you know there are some callers from time to time who would say, even early mornings when the garbage is being collected, that we should just be mindful because they're there, whether it's broiling sun or whether it's pouring rain, and we're in the comforts of our home, many of us, while this is happening. And as we leave, the work is done. So, for what it's worth, please share our gratitude and much appreciation to all the staff.
We'll certainly do so.
All right. This year, no different than previous years with the annual bulk waste cleanup?
Well, the only difference is that we'll be starting a bit earlier this year.
Okay, all right.
So we will be starting here in Grand Cayman on this Saturday, November 3rd, and we'll continue until December 21.
Okay. And I think I saw one of the flyers that a friend said, and it looked like some of the periods are quite, it's not just a couple of days. It covers quite a large couple of days as well.
Yes, as a matter of fact, there are some areas that will 2 weeks. Because what we have found is those areas tend to have the bulk of the waste. So we want to ensure that everybody gets a chance to put their bulk waste
I don't know what message you're saying. You got a lot of waste there, or you're being receptive. Which one? No, but thank you for that too, because you shared. People may be traveling. They may be busy at work, getting ready for month end, work end, year end, and the Christmas and the like. And yes, they're going to get to the exercise, but they haven't gotten to it yet. So it just means more work for you. All right. So what are the dates specifically, and how do we get information?
All right, so the specific dates are as follows. We commence on Saturday, the 3rd of November, in East End and in North Side, and we'll continue in those areas until November 9th. Immediately following, we'll move into the Bodentown area, which will encompass those areas in Savannah, Newlands, homes of the East-West Arterial. So those will commence on November 10th, and they will continue until November 23rd. Immediately following, we move to Georgetown. So Georgetown and Prospect will be collected from November 24th to December 7th. And then we'll complete our run in Grand Cayman in West Bay. We commence on the 8th of December and we continue all the way to the 21st of December. So residents are getting ample time to put out all the bulk waste items.
Just, maybe for my edification, maybe for clarity for others as well, we know you're going to start this weekend in Illinois, and then sort of eastern districts come all the way down and then conclude for Grand Cayman in West Bay. The West Bay is going to be ending on the 21st of December. When should the people in the respective years start to put out? Should West Bayers, we're at the end of the campaign for Grand Cayman. Should we start now, or should we wait, until it starts to put out?
What I would recommend is that persons start to put out the bulk waste at least a week before the scheduled date.
Okay.
So all those persons from East End and North Side, their bulk waste should have already been out. If not, it should be out by Saturday.
Okay. And then the date that it ends, don't put it out after that date.
Exactly, because we will not be able to go back to those areas to collect.
All right. If sort of train is moving this way, so let the caravan continue and be able to get where we need to go. All right. And I think most of us know that, but some of us perhaps want to get an early start and then all of a sudden not appreciative that it could be a month and thereabouts that this waste is now outside of your area, and you begin to wonder, it looks unsightly. Well, you've been out there, they're not coming to you just yet. So a week before, maybe not much more.
Yes, that's a week before. I think that is quite adequate.
All right. We're talking about bulk waste, Ms. Stacey. What would sort of constitute bulk waste? What do we mean by that?
Well, when we speak about bulk waste, we speak about those large items such as tires, metal items, old furniture and appliances, those items that would have not been collected as part of DEH's regular residential garbage pickup service. Okay,
so all those things. Normally, that old refrigerator, for some reason, as you said, the appliances, the furnishings, the things you have around the yard.
Right.
Presumably then, the other side of the coin is, well, what isn't considered bulk waste?
All right, so not included in bulk waste is construction and demolition debris. But this year, what I should say beforehand is that in previous years, we have collected vegetative waste as part of our bulk waste pickup. This year, we will not be able to do so.
So no grass clippings, cut down trees?
No grass clippings, no vegetation this time around. Because what happened is that we anticipate that there will be quite a large volume of items put out. And bear in mind that these items, unlike the vegetative waste, these items are not able to break down. So throughout the course of the year, persons would have had the opportunity to get rid of the vegetative waste. But once for the year, we are giving you the opportunity to get rid of the other items, and we won't be able to facilitate anything more because we are anticipating volumes.
Okay. I know you referenced bulk waste, being some of these items, but cars, derelict vehicles, automotive parts. But to start with, derelict vehicles and cars, would that be part of the collection process?
Well, technically derelict, yes, it is. But technically, derelict vehicles do constitute metal items, right. And we do have some derelict vehicles that are on the road that have already been tagged by our officers, and so you would appreciate that we try as best as possible to accommodate those. I don't anticipate that the average person will put out a car for that. But we will try as best as possible to accommodate those that have been tagged and that are there for collection.
And in relation to those items that are going to be sort of put out for collection. How should we sort of do that? I mean, how should we handle our bulk waste?
All right, it's really quite simple. All we ask residents to do is to ensure that bulk waste items are placed on the curb in an area that is easily accessible to our collectors, but that does not obstruct traffic. We also ask that metal items be separated from other bulk waste items. So you have two separate piles, one with your metals and one with your other bulk items.
Okay, so someone has got furnishings and other things, appliances. Put the furnishings here and then a little space, put the appliances and the metal-like stuff in one section.
Right.
Safely put it so that it can be collected and put in the trucks and the guys doing the work. Not on.
It will help with efficiency.
Yeah.
Because we may have different trucks collecting different piles, so at least it will make it easier for the collectors to do their job in a timely fashion.
Okay. Got a question from someone who's asking about recycling of oil, batteries and the like. How would that be handled during this bulk waste cleanup?
Well, they will be handled in the same way that they always have been handled, in that those items will be can be facilitated at the Georgetown landfill or at our landfills rather. So you can take those items to the drop-off site, which is located at the entrance of the Georgetown landfill or to the other landfills.
But don't put those in with
But
these.
do not put those in with.
All right. Thanks for clarifying that, and hopefully as a public we appreciate this service. I mean, if you have to pay someone to come in to do this for you, probably take you some time and some money. This way is good taxpayer money at work, right? Because some of us can accumulate a lot every year.
I know, and persons wait until December to put out all of these items.
I think some people do, yes. And it's a way that hopefully we make not only our communities cleaner, but safer as well. Hopefully we'll be, as a community, appreciative of the efforts. And if we are not yet into recycling, if we're not yet mindful of that litter that we may toss from our windows or drop along the roadsides when we're walking or riding or whatever we're doing, that maybe, just maybe, we might not do that anymore. But we can always appeal, right? From that, those who are listening to us may want to get a reminder of the dates, may want more information about the collection of bulk waste and the different activities. What's the best way they should go about it to get more information?
All right, so for additional information about our bulk waste program, you can contact us by telephone in our Grand Cayman office at 949-6696, or you may contact us at our Cayman Brac office at 948-2321. You may also contact us via email at dehcustomerservice.gov.ky, or you can contact us on any of our social media pages, whether it be Facebook or Instagram at DEH Cayman Islands.
All right. Well, I'm trusting that people, not only as they've normally done from what we can see just driving about the country, make great use of this opportunity, but be responsible and respectful of, the request that those who are collecting, we want them to collect it efficiently, but safely as well. So separating out the metals from the other things can help with the recycling and the safe and efficient collection, right? As we look at this, though, and certainly as we go forward, whether in person or a phone call, you want us to, get the information out, update the people of the area, we're here for you. But as we close our discussion, what other things would you want to share with us, repeat, remind us, or maybe just, share? Okay,
so just to remind the public that try to put out all your bulk waste items prior to the scheduled start date. Because by so doing, everyone will have the opportunity to get their bulk waste items collected.
And understand your start date. So we're going to cover the entire 3 islands, right?
The entire 3 islands. So although I did not give the information on air about the schedule for Little Cayman and for Cayman Brac, you can find these on our website at www.deh.gov.ky.
And for those who recognize, Miss Stacey did share some areas, like West Bay in particular, a 2-week period almost. Make effective use of it.
Please.
And, do not put out stuff the day after. It's probably not going to. And Christmas is only going to be 4 days later. So the guys who are working, they deserve a break too.
They certainly do.
And when they collect it, their day isn't done. And again, thanks very much. Right?
Thank you for having me.
All right. So the annual, bulk waste cleanup that's always organized by good folks over at the Department of Environmental Health gets underway. This weekend. Starts in Eastern Districts and it works its way. What do you say? Best in the West or as best is best? I'm not sure. I won't say anything more than that. Miss Stacey, you might say you might get me in trouble. But thanks again for that. And to our listeners, continue to stay tuned to Radio Cayman and get informed, entertained. We want to involve you. We ask you to be a part of our annual Breeze Fusion Walk Run this Saturday as we continue to support not only the NCVO, but also So-and-So on the Brack and the John Gray music program. So there we do. Together, we make it stronger. Until tomorrow, be blessed.